This podcast may contain subjects or topics that may be offensive or insensitive in nature. All subjects of coarse language and stories should be considered as banter, and therefore this podcast should not be listened to. If you hear something that you don't like, feel free to turn this podcast off and go about your day.
Welcome to today's podcast. Today I have a special guest, Marcia.
Hi, I'm Marcia Dufresne.
You want to introduce yourself?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know why I can or cannot say.
Okay, so hi, I'm Marcia Dufresne. I'm a friend of Shang's. I'm also, we met through real estate. I'm a real estate agent. But I'm also a mom. I'm also a creative. I think I'm many things, but
I would say very smart. That's the first thing I noticed about you.
oh, thank you. I'm very smart.
She's
I'm a character.
This is also so. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the law of attraction. I'm gonna put my phone do not disturb because that bothers me. Cool. So the law of attraction, right? This concept that, strangely enough, not a lot of people talk about, but I believe it's one of the most fundamental laws of the universe.
I agree.
More than gravity.
More than gravity. Well, I mean, gravity is a law on Earth. We don't know if gravity is a law, I guess, every place else, right?
Gravity, at the purest definition, is when an object of a very large mass has that attraction that gravitates everything towards. So you and I both have some level of gravity, but it's just extremely minuscule relative to the Earth. That doesn't mean anything.
And the planets around the solar system, etc. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, so law of attraction, and you mentioned in one of your other podcasts about positive mindset, scarcity versus abundant mindset. And for me, I think law of attraction really comes in to an abundant mindset, but it's also based on belief, because I think everyone talks about, every single guru, I don't care who you listen to, they all talk about law of attraction in their own way. But I think one of the basis of it that it comes down to is belief.
Okay.
Because it doesn't work unless you actually believe whatever it is you're trying to manifest.
Yes, I agree.
And let me say, I will say it as a blanket statement, whatever you believe in is right for you. If you believe that every morning I wake up at 5 o'clock and I pray to this desk and I say, desk, I want X, Y, Z, and I rub the desk this way and I walk around 3 times, and that works for you, like that works for you. So no matter what it is, but you have to believe it. And I think the trickiest thing with law of attraction is that it's hard to believe. And I'm going to say believe versus faith, because faith kind of rubs people the wrong way because they think we're talking about religion. But
Okay.
belief and whatever that word, incantation of the word belief, would listen to anyone from Oprah, Deepak Chopra, to Jay Shetty, to anyone you listen to who talks about law of attraction, everything is belief. Like, you have to actually believe in what you want, and you can't trick the belief. So, like, you literally have to believe it from your core.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can say it, but if there's like a little trick, like, okay, I could say, I don't know, I want this job, or I want this amount of money. But if there's a little doubt in the back of my mind that says, well, but I don't know if I could handle that money, or I don't know if I could handle that job, that's not belief.
That
like
hesitation.
Yes, like, you have to, like, heart and soul and every single fiber in your being believe it, and you'll manifest it. So I'll give you a controversial example.
Oh, go on.
I think, and do not come for me or come for me, I think Donald Trump is an absolute manifester. Whether you believe in what he's doing or not, that man believes 100%, probably 200% in what he's saying, and he manifests what he's saying. He actually gets people to believe in what he's saying because he believes it so much. And what, good, bad, or indifferent, you've not seen a public figure as controversial as this man continue to manifest everything that he believes.
He's fully committed.
He's fully committed. And there are probably a lot of people in your life who you would say And I'm not saying Donald Trump is evil. I'm saying there are probably a lot of people in your life who maybe you might say that they're evil or whatever incantation you want to use for evil. They're bad. They're not good. And why is this? Why are they always doing so well? Like, why is it that they always get what they want? And you're like hoping for karma. And you can't tell me anyone's out there who has not come across someone like this where you're like, damn, I hope karma would get them right now. Like, I wish I could see it. But then it never does. And they continue to go on and do whatever they want because they believe. So I don't think belief or manifestation doesn't have good or bad. It just has intention. And it has 100% belief. And I think that's what we all struggle with because we all want to manifest, right? But do we really believe what it is we're trying to manifest?
And that's the difference between having the law of attraction to actually applying your life than just saying that it exists.
I heard something recently where it says the universe gives you who you are, not what you say you are. Or
Yes,
who
ma'am.
you say you are, or what you say you want. So if you keep getting a whole bunch of crap in your life, you better start examining yourself and see who the hell you are.
That's I recently realized this. It goes in anything in your life, relationships, jobs. If everybody, let's say for example in the relationship, in the dating scene, if everybody you date is toxic, or everybody you date only, I know for women, only cares about your physical appearance, perhaps you're the problem. Like, what are you doing to meet these people, right? What are you showcasing? Are you only showcasing your physical appearance, or are you actually trying to stimulate intellectual conversation, right? Because if you showcase a certain part of you, that is what's going to attract to you. People are extremely biased towards what they are.
So, I mean, now, and I know you're not saying that whatever women get is that's
Not
what
just
they're
women, but
putting
in
out
general.
there. Okay. I mean, I think that is what law of attraction says. It says that whatever comes to you, you're calling it to you.
Yes.
So either your subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
or they want to call it the superconscious now, they say, because it's kind of like that's what. So there's a theory that it's the superconscious because that's what runs your life.
It's like the ego and the super ego.
Well, I don't even know if they're calling the ego anymore, as opposed I think the ego has been renamed your subconscious
Okay.
or your conscious.
So what is
So they're calling it the
subconscious,
subconscious.
superconscious?
They're calling technically your subconscious is what runs your life. Like
Yes.
everything that you do that's automatic, that's your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know like what programming is in our subconscious that's causing that's making us call these things to us. And that's why people talk about shadow work and doing all this stuff, like trying to like go back into what happened in your childhood or what your deep-seated beliefs are, because we have beliefs that we don't know are our beliefs, either passed on to us, mostly passed on to us by what we experienced as children,
Yes.
passing on from our families.
Our experiences.
yes.
Our traumas.
Absolutely. So that's when you kind of examine yourself. So why am I always meeting these types of people? Like, what is it that I subconsciously or my subconscious or my superconscious believes that it's now on this operating system and that's bringing this energy to me, because all it is energy. And we all have energy, and you put off a certain energy. People call it aura, people call it whatever. But basically, the attraction is the energy that you're attracting. Because if you think of energy, neutrons, whatever, we attract and we repel.
Yes.
So what are we attracting and what are we repelling? And if it's I'm going to say my fault, but I'm not saying it is your fault. But we're going to use fault. So if it's my fault that I'm bringing all these things into my life that I think I don't want, clearly I do want it at a certain level. So which part of me wants that and why? So the trick is now trying to figure that out. Like, which part of me wants this and replace it with something else. But then how do you now train your subconscious to think a different way?
That's interesting. I always believe it's your brains revert to habits that you develop over time. So, the reason why I'm so mature for my age, and so the way I am, is because I've taken the time to understand that most of my dynamics with other people outside of myself is completely based on the dynamics I had with my parents. Right. Growing up, my parents didn't speak to me like I was a child. My parents spoke to me like I was an equal the entirety of my life. So these conversations I just had, but in a different language. So as I gotten older and talked to other people within my peers, I couldn't really fit into my peers simply because the mindset was different, right? I'm 14 years old, and my best friend's a 70-year-old man. Right? It just doesn't make sense. But he would teach me so much about life experience that it would just carry over.
Who was the 70-year-old man?
He recently passed away in 2020. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to attend his funeral. But he was an architect. He worked for I want to say ACS for the better part of 3 decades. And then he was my father's close friend for a while.
So he was basically your uncle?
Pretty much. My Russian uncle.
So we have the Russian uncle to thank for the majority of who you are today?
Him and mostly my father. My father is the pure definition of a genius. That's why, and he's super STEM oriented. That's why in the back of my mind, I'm low key turned on by technology a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I see the newest piece of technology, I just like, yeah.
Remember you called my spreadsheet sexy. That's the first time any of my spreadsheets were like, that's a damn sexy spreadsheet.
Oh yeah, the first time I met Marcia, she was showing me her spreadsheet. I'm not gonna
And
lie.
it's a literal spreadsheet. This is not spreadsheet meaning anything else. It's
No,
like
it was
an
a Google
Excel,
Sheets.
Google
It was Google Sheets, and the way she had it set up was so sexy. You click on a column and you can filter it out by certain X amount of things, and it just does it by the X axis and the Y axis. And then I was looking at my spreadsheet. I compared to it like, damn.
I still have your spreadsheet as part of our spreadsheet because we just added it in as a sheet.
Yeah. No, but it's just things like that. It's like it all stems from. I believe everything, the law of attraction, all stems from the beginning of your life, right? Especially if you don't change your conditioning, right? Certain people are conditioned in a way based on their parents. For example, in a lot of cultures, including mine, we have overbearing parents, which means that every little thing you do, like your future, even like the woman you marry or the job you take, is all super micromanaged. And what that happens as a kid, you don't have the opportunity to make your own mistakes. So as an adult, your chances of anxiety increases. Your chances of risk-taking decreases, right? So you're going to meet similar people like that simply because you guys both stem from the same trauma. And trauma meaning not necessarily a bad thing, but just the way you were raised.
Yeah.
For example, I know a dynamic, a really good chemistry between these two dynamics it stems from the same trauma, where as a child you didn't get much attention, right? So because you didn't have attention, there's two reactions to this. A, because you didn't get spoon fed what's the word? It means when you just unconditional, because you didn't get fed unconditional love as a child.
Mm-hmm.
From unconditional love as a child, you would lick it off a knife as an adult. Meaning you crave every little bit of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, another possibility is you would internalize that. You would internalize that the world is a dark place, and that's just the norm of reality.
Or you're not good enough.
Yeah. That's just how, and they both stem from the same thing. And strangely enough, these two people make great partners.
To each other.
Where one of them is constantly just isolating themselves, and the other one is just constantly holding on to the other person.
I mean, so in a certain respect, I think. So what you say overbearing, they call it now helicopter parenting, meaning you're all around the kids, everything, whatever. And I think on a certain level, like I took away a lot of autonomy from my kids because I was always like, well, I'm a leader, so I tell them, do this, do that, whatever, do this, do that. So I think on a certain level, part of what you're saying, I probably did to my boys.
You conditioned them to be followers.
Yes, but I mean, except they're who they are. Well, came past that, and that's where you butt heads. Because if you're not a follower, two leaders butt heads.
Yes.
So as a parent, you don't like all of what I was doing came out of care and came out of risk avoidance.
Yes.
Because the biggest thing is, at least for me, is like, how do I protect? So I think I probably went above and beyond in the protection thing. Like, let me tell you how to do this so you don't hurt yourself. Like, let me tell you how to do it the right way so you know how to do it. But in doing that, it's like you took away for them to think and figure it out for themselves, because also I was very impatient when they were younger.
Wow.
So the impatience, because I was stressed, working full time, whatever. I had a lot of impatience. And I what taught me patience was having kids. Because if you saw me before I had kids, I had no patience for anyone. I had no patience for anyone who was a slow thinker. I had no tolerance for people who weren't as smart as me. I had no patience for anyone. And what having kids did to me, and I never wanted kids.
What? Really?
Now, I always said, even my friends from high school, they said to me, you always said you were never going to have kids. I don't know why. I guess I have to think about that at some point.
She's such a good mother. Even to me, I'm not her son, but she's such a good mother.
It took a while, because what I learned, patience, you are not in control. And I was always controlling everything. I controlled everything in my life and other people's lives. But when it came to, you have this baby and you're not in control. Like, I was in control of anything. And it was tough for me, as a parent, when they were young, because you really have to learn how to let go of control. And even in how we tell our kids, or how we tell our kids what to say, what to do, which way to act, that is control. And I think realizing that it was control, and at certain points I was probably out, when I would lose control of them, that's where parents get angry. That's where they react. That's how.
Really?
Yeah, because I think a lot of things with the parents are control. Because if I tell you to do something you don't want to do it, then I no longer have control. Like, how dare you defy me? And a lot of parents don't talk back. Like, don't talk back to me. Where's that coming from? That's coming from control. I can control and understand, if I tell you to do something, you're doing it, I'm controlling what's happening there. Like, if you're not doing what I'm saying, then I have no control over what you're going to do. What else are you going to do? Are you going to go turn on the stove when I tell you to? I know we take it to the extent. I mean, I would have nightmares about my kids being kidnapped. I don't know why, because you go to the extent of I can protect them for this, I can protect them from this, but I can't protect them if someone takes them.
I think that's just a motherly trait of all mothers.
You think all mothers?
My mother's
get
the same way.
Nightmares about someone taking you.
My mother's the same way. It's I think it's just, I believe it's nature. As a mother, you want to protect your young, protect your genetic code, protect your lineage. That's how I like to think about it. So, even with my mother recently moved in with me, and she's overbearing as hell.
She's a helicopter parent.
Excuse me, Mom.
She's helicoptering.
I would tell her, my mom, I love you, but please. I'm a grown man. I've been living on my own for 2 years. I'm about to go too again, and she's every little minute thing, but she understands. She tells me even when I'm 40 years old, she's going to do the same thing, because
You're never going to be a grown man to your mother. You're always going to be her child.
in her eyes, I'm still that little baby that she birthed out. I remember this one day we were taking the train to Manhattan somewhere, and I asked her, my mom, I'm 20 now. I say I'm working, I'm making decent money, surviving, and I'm like, could you stop treating me like this? My mother looked me dead in my eyes. She said, no, Shang, you see, when I always see you as a little baby I was holding in my hands, and that's even if you're 50, even if I'm 80 years old, I have one foot in the grave, that's always how I'm gonna see you. I'm like, thanks, Mom, but please stop. But I think it's just genetic. I mean, not genetic.
What's that?
I don't know. That's a bomb. That was a joke.
Yes, I know that is a joke. Did the camera turn off?
Hold on a second.
Did you need to plug it in?
Let me check. Hopefully not. I didn't charge it. But
I don't see a light on it.
I think it died. Yep, camera died.
Oh, well.
That is what it is. Well,
We're so good we don't even need the visual.
that's the best part. I don't think I ever got one podcast with the full length in video and audio. Because at some point there's always some kind of technical difficulty. But hey man, that's all the process is figuring things out.
But did your mom ever tell you, if someone tries to take you, make sure they kill you right there on the sidewalk, because if you get into the van, you're dead anyway. I tell my kids that. I say, I don't care what happens. Even as young kids. Because I watch too much Law and Order. Law and Order like messes parents up. Like if you watch Law and Order SVU, forget it. So no, I always told them, if anyone tries to take you, you do whatever you can, and even if they're going to shoot you, tell them shoot you, because whatever they're going to do to you once you're in that van is worse than them killing you. Let them kill you on the spot.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Because I mean, what are you going to? Because who survives? I mean, even if you survive that,
It's not really surviving. It's just,
no,
that's not living. It's just survival.
and that's the point. Like what? Yeah. So, and I was always. This is how I speak to my kids, and I'm sure I must have instilled a lot of fear. Let them kill you on the sidewalk.
How old were they?
I don't know. They were young. However young they were. And I never spoke to them like, we never had pet names for things and all that stuff. Like, I spoke to them like the truth. Like, they got the truth and they got the real.
I mean, when I spoke to my baby sister, I'm like, if someone ever bullies you, if it's a man or boy, you go straight for the balls. No questions asked. That's how, like, we are physically bigger than you ladies. And you know what's the first thing she did? She hit me right in the balls. Oh, I was on my knees crying. I'm like,
who was this?
my baby sister.
Okay.
It's like, I'm so proud of you, but that fucking hurts.
She learned that lesson.
Yeah, it's but that's the thing with me. It's because my first job, I was a third grade teacher.
You were?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I was for 2 years. I was a school teacher for third graders. Most fun job I ever had. The pay was horrible though. Yeah, teachers don't get paid
Third
enough.
graders, what are they learning in third grade?
They are learning multiplication. They're getting better at addition. They're learning division. In terms of English, they're just learning grammar. In science, they learn the scientific method. Yeah, I think everything else was like pretty like. If I didn't know, I just Googled it. I figured it out.
What school were you teaching at?
PS 105. It was an after school program, and it was so awesome. I talked to the kids like they were like my equals, because I knew they were smart, because it's mostly Asians. I said what I said. We have the superior brain. No, but most of the kids were smart. Like most of the kids picked up the things. They were just there because I'm assuming the parents didn't want to pay for a babysitter, so they just did that instead. So
Well, the other thing is it was harder to pay for a babysitter if they're already in school. I mean, we used the after school program, and then I still had to have a babysitter pick them up from after school to bring them home, because I wouldn't, if you're working full time, you're
just
probably
don't
not
have
getting
time.
home until 7 anyway, because you can't dip out of work at 5.
no.
You
Well,
have
at
to
3.
show face, as a parent. Or 3, yes, absolutely. So you're probably not leaving until closer to 6. You're traveling home at least an hour. You're not getting home until 7. So you needed both.
Yeah, I know. It's met a lot of. No, it was awesome. I remember one day I had a really bad week, and I came into the classroom, my hoodie up, my hands in my pocket, looking down. I just had a horrible week. Nothing went right for me this week. But I also came in a little late that day, and as soon as I came in, the whole class erupted. Mr. Shang!
Mr. Shang.
Everybody erupted, and I made my entire 2 school years working there. Because out of all the other teachers that were there, we were all about the same. Well, I was the youngest. I think I was 15 at the time. They were all 17, 20, 21s and plus.
Well, you were 15 teaching after school?
I was
third grade?
14 and 15 years old teaching third graders.
So are you super smart like your dad?
Yeah.
You forgot that. Yeah, now we have to infer that, because you don't want to humble brag. But humble brag, you had to have been super smart to be teaching STEM, because basically you said you were doing arithmetic, mathematics.
But that's just multiplication and division. That's not complex things.
For a 14-year-old to be teaching third graders, I'd say that's pretty complex.
Fair enough. I mean, I would say I was doing. Yeah, fair enough. I would say I'm very math orientated. For me, math, I don't need to study much. But besides the point, I don't. This is it's. I mean, that's the problem of nature versus nurture, right? I believe that as humans, like we all have some genetic code or some nature that we inherited from our folks.
Absolutely.
Right. Like I know I get my looks from my mother. I get my intellect from my father, and I get my. I don't know where I get my ambition from. I think it's from my father as well, but it just those two mix together. But then nurture wise, I grew up in the ghetto, so getting out of the ghetto made me the person who I am. I like the way I cope with things is through humor. Right, boredom, pain, everything is coping through humor because that's the only way I know how to. Just because of my environment, no one else in my family does that but me.
So how come you weren't the Chinese rapper? You keep saying that you grew up in the ghetto, so this is the question I've been meaning to ask. Why are you not the Asian rapper? You have Eminem, you have, what's his name? What is the Informer guy? No, what is the... No.
MGK?
Vanilla, what is it?
Vanilla
Ice. The ones we knew were...
We got Young Brian or Rich Brian, whatever his name is. There's some Asian rappers out there. Only now, when I was growing up, being Asian wasn't cool. Only now, being Asian is accepted in society. I mean, the rise of K-pop and anime, all that stuff. When I was a kid, I liked those things. I didn't like K-pop, but I liked anime.
Now every American kid wants to marry an Asian woman or man.
Yeah, everyone wants to go to Japan, and I'm a delicacy now. I went from pots and pans. Don't worry about that. I went from being called the sound that hear when you cling on pots and pans from an exotic creature that you see.
How things change.
Society's getting weird, but it's funny. My friends all call me because I'm going the career path I'm choosing. They all call me the Asian Tom Cruise.
We'll see you in the next movie, but for real, we'll see you on the news flying jets.
Yeah, I'll see y'all in 14 years.
14 years, so that's a huge commitment. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I just want to get in. Like, the first 4 years is more of a stepping stone. It's the 10 years following that's really what it is. The first 4 years, I'm going to go for my master's. So I'm going to hustle. After I go, I don't think I'm going to have any time for play.
So what? So you go through basic training while you're in school? Like how?
So basic training is 7.5 weeks, and then there's about, I believe, 3 months of tech school, where the first part, I forgot what the first one is because what I'm doing. I asked my recruiter because I qualify for everything.
So there might be some people who are a little bit confused about what we're talking about.
So this is Shank's last podcast. Yeah, this is definitely my last podcast. So this is Shank's last podcast for a really long time. I've decided to join the Air Force to partake in my dream of becoming a fighter pilot. And the path that I've chose is through avionics, electronical and avionics for next-gen planes. So what that means is that I work on the electronics and all the missile controls, all that stuff on the newest planes. Essentially, electrical engineering. That's how I see it. And after that, that's a 4-year contract. After that, I applied to be a pilot, a fighter pilot, and that's a 10-year contract.
Okay.
So that's my life.
So those first 4 years, you're also going to be getting your master's.
Yes.
In what?
I'm thinking of going for mechanical. That's the most fun to me. I have a background in civil engineering. My folks I come from a very construction heavy background. But to me, like, that's just boring, man. I don't give a shit about the stress tensions of a bridge. I care about how the gears make this hydraulic press fucking punch through a watermelon like Swiss cheese. I eventually also want to make an Iron Man suit, but that's a different story.
That's gonna soon to come.
Oh man, maybe in like 30 years I'll make an Iron Man suit when I have money.
By 30 years, we're gonna have lots of Iron Man suits. Can you imagine what is the world gonna look like in 30 years, much less 20 years from now? Because so we're now on the verge of AI.
We are.
We are. So imagine AI 10 years from now. I don't know if you probably didn't watch a show called Mrs. Davis.
I have not, no.
So I said Paramount or Peacock. Anyway, either one of those. Mm-hmm. There's an AI that everyone talks to. Everyone has a Bluetooth in their ear talking to the AI that's now called Mrs. Davis.
It's like Black Mirror.
I didn't watch all the Black Mirror episodes. It probably is a Black Mirror episode. Mm-hmm. So the algorithm is now literally running the entire world and everyone's lives. So are we going to be like a Mrs. Davis in like 10, 20 years? I mean, how rapidly is this going to change things? They're saying it's like when the internet was first. I would
have to agree. Right now we're still before Y2K or Y3K.
I was around for Y2K, and that was crazy.
How was that like?
So the biggest thing about Y2K is that all the computer systems were going from like the 1900s, whatever. So the thing is, if you got to 2000, unless they expanded, it was going to replicate and erase over all that data because the two, it couldn't handle like the two in front of anything else. So instead of 1900, like the 2000s, like it couldn't handle it.
Okay,
Like it was really
so it just
like, all
reset
the
it at
computer-
2000.
Yes, like it would override everything from the past. From my understanding. So like everything had to no. We were doing 2 digits. We were doing 4. A lot of systems were running on 2 digits, not
Okay.
4 digits, assuming 19, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So a lot of the computer systems, including banking, which is a system where I was working at the time, they had to now make and it was as simple as that, making the year a 4-digit number so they could put the 2 in front of it. Because if we replicated the 2 digits, if we went to it would think it was 1900. All the computer systems would think 1900. 1901, etc. So that was the biggest thing, and people were like, so literally all the computer systems had to flip and had to start going to the 4 digits at midnight. So you couldn't do it before. I mean, some people were able to do certain things before because they were like, oh, what's going to happen? Are the stock market's going to blow up? Like, so it was a whole big thing. But mostly it was literally just changing all of the computer systems to a 4-digit year as opposed to a 2-digit year.
Okay.
That was Y2K. That's why they thought everything was going to, the financial systems were going to blow up, everything was going to blow up. And there were so many moving parts because if you think about it, so many, like in the banking world, before Y2K, we didn't have interstate banking. So even...
What is interstate banking?
So before, I think it was before the 2000s, we went to interstate banking, meaning that every state had their own banking system. Like, in order for you to do business in a state, you have to have a bank account in that state.
Okay.
So interstate banking mean that, you can now have an account that go across all states.
Federal.
Yes, exactly. I don't know where I was going with this.
I asked how Y2K affected you.
No, I know what I was talking about. The reason I talk about interstate banking, there were all these mergers. So the moment we got interstate banking, all the larger banks, there was so many mergers of banks. For instance, I worked for American Express. I had a lot of their domestic bank accounts. At the time I was dealing with over 100 banks.
Wow.
After we got interstate banking, we really whittled that down to maybe 40, and because there were so many mergers. And when banks merged, they usually kept the legacy system of the bank that they merged with.
Okay.
Because the accounts for those customers were already on that
So
platform.
they just roll that over.
So now think about just one bank having merged with 5 other banks and how many legacy platforms they have running within the bank itself. So now all of those platforms and the software for those platforms, all of those had to be changed. So it wasn't just like one, and I'm just telling you one corporation. So one corporation probably had at least 10 different systems that they had to now reprogram to change to that 4-digit year. So that's why the build up to Y2K was so much work. And that was just thinking about one corporation.
Now you multiply that by the country.
Exactly. Magnify that around the country, around the states, around the world, and that's why. And now the systems need to still be able to talk to each other. So if one system wasn't upgraded to do the 4-month year, you couldn't transfer funds between one bank to another unless their platform was updated to the
Because they don't speak the same language.
Exactly. And I don't know why we got on this tangent. Anyway, if we're talking about what the AIs are going to do.
That does make sense. It's like you spoke in Java, I spoke in Python. We just simply can't work together.
Exactly.
Even though the logic is the same, the process is the same, the math is the same, it's just that we just unfortunately speak different languages.
And I'm sure some of the crap I said was probably not technically right, but listen, this is how I understood it, and that's my reality, and that's what I'm going with.
Are you a STEM person?
I don't think so. I was a dancer. So if you want to think, technically I'm a creative.
I mean, you were in the banking industry for a large amount of your career.
Yeah,
So I assume you were a math person.
Well, I'm a numbers person, I guess you could say, but I wouldn't say that I was like super smart in math or anything. I was my first job was actually at a brokerage firm, and when you're first starting out, what's the next thing, whatever. And I got my license. I got my Series 7, my 63 to be able to trade. So the brokers I worked for, I could do the trades for them. And then I'm like, I don't know, these rich people. At that point, it's kind of, so sales is sales.
Sales.
Leads, unless you have leads, you're dead. So who am I going to get? Some immigrated from Guyana, who at the time was living in the Bronx before, I went to Pace downtown. I lived on campus. Then I moved to Brooklyn. So I don't know people with millions of dollars. And at that point, for you to be a good broker, you need to bring in business.
That's the
So
thing.
whose business are you managing? I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't even know anyone with 100,000, much less $1 million to invest. So brokerage wasn't going to work for me. So I moved over to cash management. So I was at Viacom. So Viacom was fun because I was at Viacom International before they merged with Paramount, before they purchased Paramount Pictures. And they owned MTV at the time, and they had recently divested of CBS because now they're back to CBS. So what was fun about that, it was the entertainment industry. Like Nickelodeon was there, MTV, all that stuff. And I did all the cash management for it. So we got all the perks too because we were on the corporate floor with Sumner Redstone, and there was a kitchen. And there's a woman named Bernadette that was in the kitchen, and this old Irish lady.
She got the goodies.
Yes. So anytime you were saying, Bernadette, you want a cup of tea? So Bernadette would give you my cup of tea, and you'd smell the fresh cookies as she baked it. And if you liked her, if she liked you, you could go in and get a cookie. If she did not like you, then you didn't belong anywhere in the kitchen.
She's the company grandma.
She was. So, that's when money was flowing. I mean, we would go to lunch for any reason. Birthday, anniversary, and it's still where MTV is, right in the heart of Times Square. So we would eat at every single restaurant.
What year was this?
I was at Viacom from 93 to 96.
Oh, that's when the economy is doing well.
Oh,
remember.
yes. I mean, forget it. And the swag bags, because anytime the investors came in for us to talk about our earnings, they get like whole big duffel bags of like merchandise, like watches from Nickelodeon and from any little shows that they have, watches, T-shirts, bags. And I would get the guy who did the swag there, his name was Jack, so whatever leftovers, like I would get some leftovers and stuff.
That's fun.
So it was a lot of fun because money was flowing. Oh, and one of the cool things we did, and it's on my IG somewhere. So when we had Showtime.
You guys had Showtime?
So did we have Showtime? I think, what was it? It was either Showtime or HBO. Anyway, I know I had to do a letter of credit for Don King. So anytime there was a fight, if Mike Tyson was fighting that weekend or if Don King had a fight, and that there was Mike Tyson.
You were there?
Like, no.
You met Iron Mike?
No, I had to do the letter of credit to, like, secure the money that he was using to, like, do the payoff for the fight. So we had to make sure that he had access to his funds, like, to be able to pay out the fights.
That's so sick.
Like, you don't think about who's behind the scenes and who's making sure the money's going.
That was you.
That was me back then.
Wow, so you played a hand in Iron Mike.
We had something with. I'm trying to remember our affiliation with either Showtime. For some reason, I think it was Showtime. I can't remember.
I'm guessing you probably were contractors for them or something.
Something, but I know. I mean, Wiles will be involved with Don King and the.
It's probably
Saturday night fights. I think those fights were on Showtime at that point.
Damn, that's so sexy.
Oh, and I went to the MTV Awards one year.
Really?
The awards and the after party. Yeah, I think it was the third year I was there or something. It's not as glamorous when you're like, there in the house because you see all the behind the scenes from when the camera's on and when it's not. But it was still exciting.
But it's a different experience. You get to see what the reality of their life is.
Yes.
Not the stuff they put on TV for the public.
Yeah.
Wow. Here my generation, I'm Gen Z, so here my generation is going to the workforce in a recession.
Yeah, but I'm here too, right? I've lived through all of that.
I mean, yeah, but it's also a couple of things. I was talking to a guy about this at a bar. It's hard for people from my generation to find mentors nowadays, especially after a post-COVID world. People who are experienced, which your peers, are more inclined to do hybrid work, right? Because for you guys, because it is more convenient, it is more effective for you guys, right? Well, as opposed to before, when you guys were starting off and just started to get into the industry, there was no such thing as hybrid or online work.
Oh, God.
It was all brick and mortar. So whenever you guys have a problem, you guys can just go to the next door, knock, and just ask a question.
Yes.
Nowadays, I have to send 3 emails, 4 follow-up text messages, and 5 calls just to see if the structure I'm doing is correct or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the encumbrance is just a lot higher for us. But at the same time, I think it drives more of the idea of the wedge between the have and have-nots as time progresses.
So I think you're also in the generation now where everything is entrepreneurship, where people can make money for shaking their ass on camera. I mean, so you guys can
can't do
make
that.
money. Are you sure? I'm sure there's a market for it.
I mean, hey, I got a booty, but
Anyway, we digress. So,
my cash app is linked to the bio. Cash app Venmo.
no, but you guys have so many different ways.
I just thought about it.
Hey, there's an OnlyFans for everybody, right? Everybody has a fetish. So you guys can make money with OnlyFans. Like, you guys have so many ways and so many creative and different ways of making money. Our generation, at least when I was growing up, your parents told you, get a job, stay there until you die. Like, that's it. You go to school, you get an education, you get a job, you stay there till you die. Like, you know, like I remember when I was changing jobs because that's what I was doing. My father would literally have a heart attack. I mean, at the idea, and now as a parent, I realized what he was probably going through. Like, you know, what do you mean you're going to change jobs? Like, you know, that was like unheard of. You stay with that company, you know, and you ride it through until you get your retirement and you get that pension. And then pensions went away. This generation, they're all about, like, what can you do for me? Like, I'm going to stay here. I'm probably going to do this job for maybe a year, and then I'm going to go on to the next job and the next job. And quite frankly, that's the way it should be, because all those people who sat there year after year, what would happen? The new people would come in, they would get paid more money. Like, you came in at a certain salary, maybe you got 2 or 3% raise. In the heyday, you were getting 6%. Then it went down to 3%. Then again down 2%.
That's not even beating inflation.
No, it wasn't even keeping up with inflation. So the people who were there the longest are being paid the least.
So there's no advantageous value to stay.
No, there's at this point there's no advantage to stay any place. Anytime, so here's my thing. Anytime you're leaving a job, you're going to get another job. You say you're making at least 30,000 more than you're making, 15 to 30,000.
Solid advice.
You ask for at least 20,000 more. They're probably going to give you 10. So you will leave your first job, your second job, making $40,000 more than you did the last job. And they're not going to call and check your salary. They can't do that. The other company's not going to tell you how much you make. And you always negotiate the salary. Everything is negotiable. And people don't think corporate jobs are negotiable, but they absolutely are. Now that New York City is making people put the pay scale for jobs, it is incredible when you look at the pay scale. You look at any job right now, if they're following the law, you see like the gap between, some of them are like from like for like a VP job, like 120 to 180. And guess who's starting at 120? Unless you're negotiating or you're coming in and you're asking for it, you're going to get that 120. And now you're seeing the range. You're like, oh, then they tell you, oh, based on experience. That's based on what you ask for, and it's based on what you demand, based on. So it doesn't matter if you're coming out of school. You negotiate that salary. Ask for $10,000 to $20,000 more than you want because you know they're going to come down half. Same thing, negotiation 101. Ask for more than you want. Ask for 100% more than you want because they're going to cut you down to 50. No, and that way everyone wins. Everyone feels like they win, because you're like, okay, I only wanted 10,000. I asked for 20,000 more. They're like, I'm not gonna give you 20,000. I could probably give you 10. And you're like, all right, I'm okay. I guess I'm gonna take it. And then you're like, okay, I only wanted 10 anyway. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to feel like they lost.
I think, two things. I would have to agree with you that, especially my generation, it's more about how the company can help us more than how we can help the company. Because at the end of the day, I'm willing to stay at one company for long term if they're willing to mentor me and guide me in the right direction. If they don't do that, I don't see the purpose of me staying. Right? I believe this is the main reason why I want to go to the military, because at this current time in my life, I'm working towards something I love, right? I always knew why I wanted to be a pilot. Me staying in real estate was make enough money so I can finish my bachelor's, apply to be a pilot. Now it's just coming at a faster rate. But it's more of, we're just sick of being paid a not livable wage.
Also, you guys want to be happy. Like, who was ever talking about happiness and
Yeah.
satisfaction? Like, happiness. The hell? Like, that was a dirty word.
I don't want to work 3 jobs just to pay rent. That shit sucks.
But a lot of people are doing that though right now.
I was doing that. That shit.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. The fact that, especially even if you live in New York City, you have to work 3 jobs in order to even afford your apartment and then just a decent living.
New York City is a place where I believe human greed has overcome everybody. Greed and pride in New York City is too far. And lust. I would say greed, pride, lust has gone way too far in New York City.
But isn't that what it's been for all time? If you go as far back as
Really?
you want to go, greed, lust, and power. Oh my God! Watch any drama from Shakespeare, from whatever you look at all those any period drama you want. If you want to talk about anything, it's always greed, lust, and power. That's what drives humans. That's what makes us do the worst things
It does.
imaginable to each other.
I believe these sins are all good things, right? Greed, it makes you a provider on the positive scale and on the shadow scale. The positive scale, it makes you a good provider. It makes you want to protect people. On the negative scale, that's how World War II happened. Adolf Hitler, people degrade others to less than humans, merely numbers. Pride is the reason why you fight for things. You fight for your woman, you fight for your family, you fight for your job. That's the positive scale. But on the negative scale, pride becomes where you just take as many people down as possible, just for your own benefit and ego. Same thing with lust. Lust, at its core, it's building a family, reproducing a legacy, right? But at its worst, it's just destroying society. Because when you don't value that kind of energy and you just give it away and you showcase it to especially the younger people how you operate, it destroys generations because nowadays less and less people want to get married or have children, and secondly, it devalues the entire thing. I believe every sin, all the 7 sins
Well,
have positive
yes,
negatives.
absolutely.
It's just as of right now, as a society, we're going too far to negative.
Yes.
And with social media, it amplifies everything to hell.
But there will always be a balancing, and I think nature balances itself out. Same thing with humans. We're going to be balanced out one way or the other.
I think it's more of a cycle than a balance.
Yeah. Well, I think the cycle balances things out.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, so right now we're in the cycle where I guess technically we can say what do they think they're the right? We're skewing towards the right, as whatever all the ideology that we call the right.
You mean on the
Or that-
political spectrum?
Yeah. Well, the political structure kind of folds over into life. So if you want to call it the right view, the view
Okay.
of the right, where it's power and well, I see it as power and greed. They call us the left, right? Well,
Okay.
I'm a Democrat, so I'm a left.
Okay,
So
I'm
call
moderate.
they call themselves the right.
Okay.
So let's get away from politics. Let's talk about power, greed, lust, as you were saying. Right now, the scales are tipped in the favor of the negative aspect of that.
Yes.
I think we could all agree that that's where we're at right now. All the negative aspects of all of that is on display everywhere that you look. It's on display everything that you hear, and it's really tough for people who are on the lower side of that right now to get away from it, or or even to not be affected by it, because I think even if you think about, I believe in fairness and doing things right and treating people fairly. And what has been happening with me personally lately is that people have just been using that to take advantage of me.
Yes, ma'am.
They really have, and because I don't think that way. Like I don't go into I don't think everything's transactional, and I'll look at it like, okay, how are they trying to screw me? Like I really kind of think I kind of take people at their word, but then when it does happen, of course, it stings, and it's like, okay, I should have looked out for that. Like, is that my fault? Like, is that my fault that person took advantage of me because I'm assuming positive intent, and I'm not out to screw you? Like, I wouldn't do that.
Should
to
it be
you.
your fault?
Should it be my fault? But here's the thing. So what do I do now to counter that? I think what it's going to take for me to counter that now, do I now need to be an asshole? I don't want to be an asshole.
Of course not.
No, but and I feel like I ultimately, and I know this is going to sound cliche. Ultimately, I feel that good wins out over evil, and I I feel that I'm good. Whatever you want to say, I feel that the way I treat people is good on the positive, whatever. And if I'm to change myself and now start becoming evil, I couldn't even if I wanted to, because literally it's not in me.
It's not your person.
Like it's
not
not
your
in
character.
me. But it's still really messed up. Like when they keep like people keep taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
And it's like
But it's we all have this one friend that we all grew up with, that we were best friends with. We grew up together, we ate together, we went through the worst of the worst together, right? And we eventually outgrow them. It's not because of any reason, it's just because we are constantly moving forward, and they decide to stop at a certain level. Is it our duty to pull them back up?
no, I've let go of people.
I still try to reach out and help, but at the end of the day, it's not my responsibility for your well-being. It's your own accountability. I believe people like that, who are the way like that, they just are at that position. Because, and I tell a lot of people this, I'm also, like, at my purest heart, I'm a good person. I might be an asshole, I sound like an asshole. Well, that's just New York. You kind of have to do that as a survival mechanism. But like, if I have a couple of drinks, I'm super nice.
No, at your core, you have a good heart. You're a good person. I think that's what I was a energy wise attracted to you with, because you had a positive mindset. You had an abundance mindset.
But what I realized is not everybody deserves that energy. Because you spend your energy with somebody, and afterwards you feel worse. You know, whatever it may be, like their emotions latch on to you, their feelings latch on to you, and you carry that with you. I'm a firm believer that all the laws of physics apply to life. So, for example, well, it's going to be in my book, Mindset Shift, coming out when it comes out. Probably by the end of this year or next year. I already have it done. I just gotta figure out how to publish it. But the law of conservation of energy is the idea that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is only transferred. So let's say you and I, right? We go out. We go out to a party where we go out and do whatever. Let's say in the beginning of it, I was super low energy, you were super high energy, right? We spend that time together. We chill, we dance, we talk to new people, we party. At the end of the day, all of a sudden the paradigm switch. All of a sudden now I have high energy and you have low energy.
Yeah, I'm super tired now.
Exactly. Why is that? Energy transferred. So would you want to give your energy to someone who has such a dark soul or dark kind of energy?
And I know you would not want to do that, but I think you have to those people, you don't realize who they are at first. So I think you start giving your energy, and then after a while, they're an energy vampire. There is such a thing. So when you find that you leave this person, you leave that conversation drained, and you're always being drained, and all they're doing is just literally sucking your energy, the good energy out of you, that is when you need to protect yourself, and you do need to pull back. So I absolutely agree with that.
And it's not anything offensive, right? Like, I'm a very firm believer, just communicate with me. For example, I was talking to this one person. I'm not going to say he or she, but I was going through a lot of my own stuff.
You know, my kids say they now automatically, no matter what.
Really?
Yep, their generation, everything is they.
Oh, I'm the same generation, but thank you.
Well, are they? Are you?
I'm 21.
Well, no, but they're not millennial. They're
Gen Z.
They're Gen Z.
I'm Gen Z.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gen Z is anybody from
Oh, that's right. My son's gonna be 20 this year.
Yeah, we're the same
Literally.
age.
And so, you know what it is? I don't see you that young. I really don't see that you're that young because you're so mature in spirit.
Trauma, baby. That's what it do. Let's go.
I'm like thinking my kids are like so much younger than you. What the?
I'm the same age as your kids. You're the same age as my parents. What was I saying before?
I don't even know.
Oh, yes, they. Yeah. I say they to keep ambiguity. I don't say they as a
No, they say
reflex.
they because it's now ingrained. Everybody's a they.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I used to say there, but I just do it for ambiguity, because this is a public platform. I do need to keep some ambiguity for other people. I'm an open book. Other people are not. That's how I am. But this person, they.
They, who shall not be named.
They disrespected my time, pure and simple, right? But they were going to do some things of themselves, and very frankly, that person reached out to me again trying to accomplish something. But I just told them straight up, look, you did it one time, I just can't simply do it, right? And also, my plate doubled, so like at this point, would I give you my time if you disrespected it while I have all this other shit going on in my life?
Yeah.
No. And I did call them back a couple days ago because I'm doing what I'm doing. I want to try and make amends with people. And the way that they just phrase themselves, it's like they told me to pretty much go fuck myself because when you hear the whole thing, it's just weird because like this person wants to explain themselves to me and be apologetic about wasting my time, but then they realize life goes on. They got self-preservation and all that jazz. And granted, I'm like, okay, cool, but you didn't communicate with me, right? You told me afterwards, and then you blame me. I'm like, excuse me, but the fuck, god damn. And now that I have this conversation, I would never hit them up again. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Because it's just not worth your energy. Some people in this lifetime, I tell people like you and I, a lot to myself, that not everybody deserves your time. Not everybody deserves your energy. I'm only good to people who are good to me.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? Like, you treat me like less than a number, and I have to still kiss your ass? Fuck you. Suck a dick, disrespectfully.
And with that, the podcast comes to an end. No, I'm just
Goodbye.
No, I get it. Yeah, with work, there was someone who was disrespecting my time. Just a simple stuff, not showing up for meetings, all that stuff. Just like constantly thinking it's okay, and it's like, and then I no longer gave them access to me, and then it was a problem. It was my fault. But if I'm providing access to you, you consistently disrespect that, and as a team lead, whatever.
But that's how they view you too.
As always there.
As like the way the way they treat you is how they view you. So they disrespect.
You're right. Yes.
So they disrespect your time.
Exactly. You're just
they never respect you.
Absolutely no respect. And first couple of times I let it slide, but afterwards I'm like, no, like I'm not gonna keep doing this. Like you will no longer have access to me, so you can continue to disrespect me. And then that was a problem for them. But then I truly saw how truly disrespectful they were. So it's like what the side they were presenting to me wasn't even genuine as far as who they were.
That was, yeah.
The disrespect told me more than the words that were coming out of their mouth whenever they did speak to me.
That's the subconscious, girl. You just said it. This all this mouth talking is all the fugazi. It's all about what you do. But
so we're bringing it full circle back to manifestation.
I think it is. That's what it all is. Like, I mean, what you said about Donald Trump, I 100% agree. I think whether or not you agree or not with his actions, his thoughts, he's fully committed. He truly believes in what he says, whether or not he's delusional or not, and he believes it as such. To him, is reality. I was listening to Jordan Peterson podcast too. Clinical psychologist, beautiful man, nice beard. And he broke it down. He's like, this is, if a man truly believes his reality, his purpose, others will believe it too. Because sometimes it's not even about what you say; it's about just how committed you are to saying it.
Exactly. So bringing everything back, it really comes down to belief. Like if you do not wholeheartedly, heart, soul, every single fiber of your being believing what you are trying to manifest, it's never going to happen. Now, how do you get yourself to believe? So that's always the trick. So, okay, so now great, Marcia. Everybody's saying, all the gurus, I have to believe. So how the hell do I make myself fully believe? And that's why the negative stuff happens. You manifest more negative because in those moments when you are hurting and, when you're going through it, it's so strong, like you're living it. It's filling every fiber of your being. You're fully committed to it. And like if things are going bad and you're really feeling that, the lack of whatever it is that you're lacking. You are so entrenched in that lack that it's filling every single fiber of your being because you're trying to survive it. And that's why you're going to manifest more of that because you're so entrenched in it because it's so strong. But then the positive stuff is never that strong. It's like, okay, that's nice. Yeah, I would like to have the money, whatever. But it's like, oh my God, I need this money. I don't have this money. And all the universe hears, I don't have this money. Like they just hear no money. They're like, oh my God. No money? We like no money because we feel it so hard. Here's no more money. Oh, no, here's something else to prove to you that there's no more money coming for you because you believe, oh my God, I'm never going to get this money.
You get comfortable with
And
it.
no, but that feeling is so strong. Now, the trick is trying to make the positive things that strong. So that's why they try to say start with something small. So start with something that you truly believe. You love coffee. If you love coffee, you can taste the coffee, you want the coffee, you can't afford that cup of coffee, right? You
Yes.
can't afford the Starbucks today. You're like, oh my God. You wake up, you're like, oh, I'm just dying for a caramel macchiato. I just want a caramel macchiato. I don't know how this caramel macchiato is going to come to me. No, but something really small. And you go out and you're going about your day and your friend says, hey, let's go to Starbucks, my treat, and you get your caramel macchiato. You're going, oh my God, what a coincidence. I got my caramel macchiato. So instead of you taking that as proof that you just manifested that, you say, what a coincidence. So there are no coincidences.
No,
That's what the
definitely.
people. So there's no coincidence. You manifested that cup of coffee because it was so positive in you. You felt it. You wanted it. So I say start with something small like a coffee, whatever a coffee means to you. And from that coffee, now you go to something else. And you remember that feeling about how you felt about that coffee, the taste of that coffee, how much you wanted that coffee. You just knew you were going to get that coffee. You didn't know who was going to get it for you. And sometimes you would say, listen, I don't know how the hell this is happening, but this is happening, and I'm getting this. And then you get it. You're like, oh, my God, what a coincidence.
And when you get it, you're surprised, like, this is freaky. What the
Yes,
God?
exactly.
Are you listening?
Yeah, but it's you, your God, your essence. Because they say the part is mimics the whole.
The part that mimics the whole?
So if I have a piece of bread and I cut and I give you a slice, is that slice different from the whole loaf?
No.
That is just a smaller piece of the loaf.
Yes.
The ingredients are the same.
It's still the same
It's
thing.
still
It's just a cross section.
Yes.
Or a slice.
So whatever you want to call it, God, source, whatever, you are made of either God made you in his own image. So you are the slice of God. So are you different from God? You have the same essence. We are part of the universe. They're saying our cells are from everything that makes up the universe.
Yep.
Are you different from the universe? No, you are also the universe. So let's go back to God. So if God made you as part of his bread and you're just a slice of God, then you have everything in you that God does. And you made that happen. But we don't want to believe that because we were so trained that we were so inferior. Oh my God, how could we be God? Because he said, I've made you in my image. Literally, Adam and the rib or whatever. If we are...
But what is his image? Him.
There's a him.
Well,
Source,
him,
source,
her, they,
universe, whatever.
Whatever gender.
No, I believe in source.
Source, okay.
You want to call it God. You
God,
want to call
I
it
mean,
source.
God, universe to me is interchangeable.
Exactly. Whatever you want to call it, you are part of that. And whatever that force is, that life force, it lives within you. So the creation doesn't happen outside of ourselves. I think that's what it is, that we're always looking for things outside of ourselves. Everything starts from within.
I agree.
And when those things come to you, accept it and say, so Abraham Hicks, who I mentioned to you, said, look what I've brought for me. Look at this coffee that I've brought for myself. No, but literally you have to say that because that will reinforce it with you. Look at what I'm bringing for myself. When you get the positive things, say, look at this great stuff I've done for myself, because we're so quick to blame ourselves when something bad, when something goes wrong. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Why did I do this? So start praising yourself when stuff goes right. Look how great I am. Look what I brought for me. Look what I manifested today. Look at that coffee that I got. And stop thinking things are coincidences because they're not. And just start with something small.
Could that be insecurity where that mindset strives from?
I'm sure. Well, insecurity, inferiority, everything that's been ingrained in us. We're not worthy. We're not gods. We're this, what, everything teaches you that you're inferior. What really teaches you that you're superior?
You.
Well, everybody I listen to, they're trying to teach us that we're.
But it's, I believe it's you, right?
How? Because I'm saying it.
No, it's not just because you're saying it, because you understand yourself, right? You understand your body, you understand your mind, what triggers you, what causes some certain emotions. what makes your body parts
You mean
sore.
you as in you?
You as in you,
As in
Marcia.
me?
Yes, you as
Okay.
in you. There's a saying that if to change the world, a man who can't change the world can't change. A man who can't change himself and control himself cannot never change the world.
Well, I'm still a work in progress.
Well, we all are,
Yes.
and to the day we die, we still are. I don't believe I'll ever be. I think the idea of becoming the person who we want should always be out of reach.
I
Right.
agree with that.
Because if you do reach it, you
Then
hit
you're dead.
you hit the harmonic cycle. You become depressed.
No, but I think we're only done until we're dead because we're never done.
Fair enough.
And I think
And
we
that's why I
always
want to kill myself.
no, but we always think that we're going to be done,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what confuses people and holds us back because we think the struggle, if you want to call it the struggle, the overcoming, whatever, like it's never done. Like you're never going to be done. Hey, sorry to burst your bubble, but this shit is never done.
You
Like
be done with
everything-
chapters, not the book.
Yes, but everything you're going through is called life, and if you don't learn, I know for me, like things keep. I think I told you, like my biggest thing is discipline, and it keeps resurfacing because I know that's something I need to conquer. So I know it. I know it.
I'm flexing
I
my
know
muscles.
it. I know it. But discipline, I mean, that's physical discipline, but there's a lot of mental discipline.
But physical leads to the mental.
True. Discipline in any way, shape, or form. So I think that is something that I'm going to continually struggle with. That I am working on, but I know for me that's discipline. And like they say, God doesn't give you everything
And perhaps that's why you and I work so well.
because you're very disciplined.
Well, yeah, I try to be.
My kids are now becoming very disciplined because I was never able to pass down discipline to them because I was never disciplined. See, growing up, I never did anything wrong. I was
okay.
always an A student. I never gave trouble, and there was never any need to discipline me. So there was never okay. And my family calls me Marcy. Marcy, go do your homework now, or Marcy, do this. Marcy, like there was never Marcy do anything because Marcy never did anything wrong to be told that she should do anything, and there was never any structure, any discipline. So I was able to do whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want, and not realizing. But of course, that's what was ingrained. That's the basis of who I am. So when it comes now, you grow up and there's life, and there's a whole bunch of shit that you have to do that you don't want to do. I have a very difficult time doing things I don't want to do.
Gotcha.
We're being told to wrap it up.
Yep.
Anyway, so yes, so for me, the thing that I need to overcome pretty rapidly to change my life, or that will change my life substantially, is discipline. But even knowing that doesn't make it easy.
knowing that is the first step. Awareness. You're aware of what you need. Most people are retarded.
Oh, that's the R word. We're not allowed to say
my
that.
fault.
We apologize for using the R word.
I don't. No, most people are unaware of what they need in life, and most of the time it's very simple. And that's when it comes to like you are literally the solution to all your problems is you,
Exactly.
right? If you can just sit in a, I'll be frank. If you can just sit in a dark room with your thoughts alone, you can probably figure out the deepest crevices of your own reality.
Yeah, do it for even 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. I don't know when the last time anyone has ever sat with their thoughts.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
with their phone on it, like literally sit with your thoughts. That's it.
It's at first it's terrifying, but then you learn to be your best friend. You are either your own best friend or worst enemy. But we need to wrap it up. But before we go, if you were to give one piece of advice to the 5 people who are listening to every single podcast, God bless
to my
your hearts.
sons, thank you for listening.
To my boy, to those like 5 people who listen to all my podcasts to the complete end, because I look at the analytics. There's only like 3, like there's only like 2 or 3 people that watch the whole thing. God bless your
Okay,
hearts.
so one piece of advice. Always listen to your gut. Your gut is literally where your solar plexus is. If you want to do a YouTube, go Google that shit. They call the solar plexus the brain,
The second brain.
or the sun of your body. You think the sun is the solar system. Your solar plexus, which is between your heart and your navel, is your solar plexus, and that's your gut. So anytime you feel anything is off in your gut, for anything, if anything is off in your gut, do not do it. Listen to your gut
Yes, ma'am.
always.
It's your instincts.
Yeah, it will never steer you wrong. And if something is too difficult, just walk away. It's not meant to happen. Like
Yeah.
in that moment, like if you're trying so hard and something's not working, walk away. In that moment, it's not meant to
It's
happen.
not worth the time.
Yeah. So that
This
was
is-
2 things. They got 2 for what?
Oh, damn, look at you, girl.
What a
Oh,
rope.
And on that note,
Well, what about you? This is
me?
your final
This
podcast.
is my final
What are you
pod-
going to tell people for 14 years? You got to hold them down for 14 years.
we're all going to die someday. That's it. No, I'm joking. No, we are all going to die someday. In this lifetime, you have to live for yourself. We cannot live for other people because, yeah, you sure at an early age we can all do that, but at some point in your life you have to consider that other people aren't going to pass the next life in you. When you die in this world, and you are not proud of anything you do, you're just gonna be a miserable person, especially the closer you get to death's door. And I've seen a lot of people like that, regardless of industry, regardless of gender, social, economical level, race, political beliefs, religion. That's all arbitrary in this. If you truly believe in what you want and you're truly willing to die for it, go for it.
Amen.
Amen.